The woods whisper, the trees watch, and sometimes the darkness that dwells within them reaches out. Welcome, my friends, to a place where the familiar paths of nature twist into chilling nightmares. Tonight, we delve into the unsettling unknown with 3 hiking horror stories that will leave you questioning the shadows in your own backyard. These aren't just stories, they're glimpses into the unsettling reality that lurks beyond the beaten path. So gather close, turn down the lights, and prepare to face the fear. Because once you step into these tales, there's no turning back. The story begins with an innocent journey into the wilderness. A young man named David, an avid hiker, set off on a solo trek into the sprawling forests of the Pacific Northwest. He was eager to escape the hustle of city life and lose himself in nature's solitude. He packed his backpack, laced up his boots, and with a final wave goodbye, disappeared into the dense undergrowth. Days turned into weeks, and David's silence grew deafening. Search parties combed through the vast expanse of the woods, their hope dwindling with each passing hour. The dense canopy swallowed any trace of his presence, leaving behind an unsettling void. The official search was eventually called off, leaving David's loved ones grappling with the agonizing uncertainty of his fate. Years passed, and the memory of the lost hiker faded into local folklore. Then, one crisp autumn morning, a group of hunters stumbled upon a sight that sent shivers down their spines. Deep within a secluded ravine, hidden amongst the twisted branches and fallen leaves, lay a weathered backpack. It was David's. A surge of both hope and dread swept through the small community as a renewed search effort was launched. But as the sun began its descent, casting long, eerie shadows across the forest floor, a gruesome discovery shattered their fragile optimism. Not far from where the backpack was found, beneath the oppressive shade of an ancient oak tree, lay a human skeleton, its bones bleached white by time and the elements. The skeletal fingers still clutched a tattered map, the paper worn thin and faded, but the markings still faintly visible. It was the map David had taken with him on his fateful hike all those years ago. The discovery of the remains sent shockwaves through the community, but it also deepened the mystery surrounding David's disappearance. What had happened to him in those lost years? How had he ended up so far off the beaten path? Forensic analysis of the skeleton revealed no signs of foul play, leaving investigators baffled. The cause of death remained undetermined, lost to the passage of time and the secrets held by the silent woods. The story of David, the lost hiker, became a haunting reminder of the capricious nature of the wilderness. Some whispered that David had lost his way, succumbing to the elements or perhaps to a fatal misstep on the unforgiving terrain. Whatever the truth may be, the story of David serves as a chilling reminder that the wilderness holds secrets, some best left undisturbed. Our next tale takes us deep into the heart of Appalachia, a region steeped in folklore and shrouded in an almost mystical aura. It's a place where ancient mountains pierce the sky, their slopes cloaked in dense forests that seem to hold their breath, guarding secrets whispered on the wind. It's here in this land of rugged beauty and unsettling stillness that a group of friends encountered a phenomenon that would forever alter their perception of the natural world. The friends, Emily, Ben and Jake, were experienced hikers, drawn to the challenge of conquering the Appalachian Trail. They had planned their trip meticulously, their backpacks filled with supplies and their hearts filled with the camaraderie and adventurous spirit that only comes from sharing a love for the great outdoors. One evening, as dusk began to settle over the mountains, casting long shadows that danced and flickered in the fading light, the trio decided to set up camp for the night. They found a clearing, a small haven of peace and tranquility, nestled amongst the towering trees. As they gathered wood for a fire, a strange light caught Emily's eye. It flickered in the distance, a warm, inviting glow that seemed to beckon them closer. "Emily, hey, do you guys see that?" Ben and Jake turned, their eyes scanning the darkening woods. "Jake, see what?" "Emily, that light," Emily pointed, her finger trembling slightly. "Over there, between those trees." Ben squinted, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. Ben, it looks like a campfire, he said slowly, a hint of unease creeping into his voice. Curiosity warred with caution as the friends debated what to do. The light seemed to pulsate, growing brighter and then fading as if beckoning them closer. It was a cold night and the prospect of a warm fire was hard to resist. "Jake, let's just check it out," Jake said, his sense of adventure outweighing his apprehension. "If it's nothing, we can turn back. If it's another group of hikers, we can share stories and maybe some food." With a mix of excitement and trepidation, they cautiously made their way towards the mysterious light. As they drew closer, the woods around them seemed to grow quieter, the usual nighttime sounds of insects and rustling leaves replaced by an unsettling silence. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy that sent shivers down their spines. And then they emerged into a small clearing, and the source of the light was revealed. A campfire crackled merrily in the center of the clearing, the flames dancing and leaping as if fueled by an unseen hand. But there was no one there. No tents, no gear, no sign of human presence, just the fire, burning brightly in the stillness of the woods. "Ben, this is creepy," Ben whispered, his voice barely audible above the crackling of the flames. "Emily, let's just go," Emily said, her voice trembling. "This place, it doesn't feel right." As they turned to leave, a sudden gust of wind swept through the clearing, swirling the flames and sending sparks flying into the darkness. And then they heard it. A low, mournful wail that seemed to come from the heart of the fire itself. It was a sound filled with an unspeakable sadness, a sound that spoke of loss and despair and something ancient and unknowable. Panic surged through the friends, their legs suddenly feeling like lead weights. They stumbled back, their eyes fixed on the fire as the wailing intensified, seeming to tear at the very fabric of their sanity. Our final tale takes us to the windswept plains of the Midwest, where the land stretches out like an endless ocean of green, broken only by the occasional farmhouse or lonely stretch of highway. It's a place where the sky seems to go on forever, and the silence can be deafening, broken only by the sighing of the wind through the tall grass. It was here, in this seemingly peaceful landscape, that a young couple on a romantic camping trip would encounter a horror that whispered through the trees. Sarah and Mark, eager to escape the city and reconnect with nature, decided to spend a weekend camping in a remote state park. The park, known for its vast prairies and secluded woodlands, promised a peaceful retreat from the hustle and bustle of their everyday lives. They arrived on a Friday afternoon, the sun casting long shadows across the tall grass as they set up their tent in a secluded clearing. The air was alive with the sounds of birdsong, and a gentle breeze whispered through the trees, carrying with it the sweet scent of wildflowers. As the sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, they built a campfire and settled down for a night of stargazing and shared stories. The hours melted away as they lost themselves in each other's company, the worries and stresses of their lives fading into the background. Later that night, as the fire died down to embers and the stars twinkled above them, Sarah noticed something strange. A faint whispering sound seemed to be coming from the woods surrounding their campsite. It was a low, rustling sound, like the murmur of voices carried on the wind. "Mark, do you hear that?" Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. Mark, lost in contemplation of the night sky, turned to her, his brow furrowed. "Hear what?" he asked. "That whispering," Sarah said, her unease growing. "It sounds like voices." Mark listened intently, straining to hear what Sarah was describing. At first he heard nothing but the gentle sighing of the wind through the trees. But then he heard it too, a faint, almost subliminal whispering sound that seemed to be coming from all directions at once. It was a disquieting sound, like the rustling of leaves, but with an undercurrent of something else, something distinctly human-like. It was as if the woods themselves were whispering secrets, their voices too quiet to decipher, but their intent clear. They were watching. "It's probably just the wind," Mark said, trying to sound reassuring, though he couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over him. Sarah, however, wasn't convinced. The whispering seemed to grow louder, more insistent, as if whatever was out there was trying to get their attention. The woods, once a source of peace and tranquility, now seemed menacing, their shadows concealing unseen eyes. "I don't like this," Sarah said, her voice trembling slightly. "Let's just go back to the tent." Mark, though still trying to rationalize the strange sounds, knew it was pointless to argue. Sarah was genuinely frightened, and he could feel the hairs on the back of his own neck standing on end. They quickly extinguished the campfire and retreated to the relative safety of their tent, zipping the entrance closed behind them, as if to seal out the whispering darkness. Inside the tent, surrounded by the thin fabric that separated them from the woods, they felt a fragile sense of security. But the whispering continued, seeming to press in on them from all sides, wrapping them in a cocoon of unseen menace. They huddled together in the darkness, listening intently, their bodies tense with anticipation. The sun has set on our journey into the heart of hiking horror, but the chills remain. Remember, the next time you find yourself wandering off the beaten path, be wary of the whispers in the dark. They might just lead you to a fate worse than getting lost. If you enjoyed these tales of terror and want to explore more of the unsettling unknown, make sure to like this video, share it with your fellow thrill seekers, and subscribe to my channel for more spine-tingling content. And let me know in the comments below, what's the creepiest thing you've ever encountered on a hike? Until next time, keep your senses sharp, your wits about you, and remember, sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we can't see, but only hear, whispering on the wind. And the eerie background music, nature sounds with a twist, will keep you company long after the video ends.